Hello, everyone. Hi. Hello. Welcome in. So today, I haven't washed my face. I got up and I just bought some trimmers like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And I used them. So this is the first time I've trimmed my own face, trimmed on anything in 28 years, nearly. I used to have an irrational fear that I would like cut myself and bleed out in the bathroom. so, and I have another one that like if I get written on, I'll get ink poisoning and die. Now, that one's because to keep us from writing on ourselves when we were younger, the threat of ink poisoning became a thing, and for some reason that one stuck with me. And I get extremely upset when people write on me because whenever I tell somebody that, I don't necessarily introduce it as an irrational fear, but whenever I'm like, you know, well, I kind of do. And then somebody writes on me, and it's like, okay, well, why would you do that? Anyway, today's a new day, so we're gonna see what the card brings us today. Yesterday it was judgment, which led to that fairly intense, by the end of it, at least like 3 hour video. And then I had to, like, everything that comes up, I ask myself. And the last question was like, with the way you interact with the world, what kind of world are you creating? And while I do think it's a time to, hold each other accountable, I don't want to necessarily be like extremely harsh and unforgiving and things like that, because things need to change and people need to be allowed time to change or to, if they want to, right? So I'll try to be more chill. I've been feeling like today's just been a good day. I saw my grandmother this morning. She came by. Um, I got last night some mini chocolate chip muffins and some iced coffee. So I had some mini chocolate chip muffins and some iced coffee this morning. That was pretty good. And then I ate a bagel, and she was like, "You don't need to be eating all that starch." She was like, "That is not breakfast." I said, "It's my birth month." Anyway, let's get into this. I'm feeling good today. I hope you're doing well as well. If not, then I hope you do better soon. So the card we have today is the Queen of Swords. Okay. Let me hold her up. This is the Queen of Swords. So about the Queen, her sword isn't raised in combat, but it is at the ready, and her arm is up, as if she's signaling to someone. I think this is the first time I've noticed this, but her hair is like really long. And her dress is these greens and whites and blues. So it's this heart third eye, because it's a deeper blue, crown type of energy. And then the glaciers are in the back, giving us that wintry energy. This is Libra, but it's almost feeling Aquarian. Something is happening between Libra and Aquarius for me right now. Like I feel like their energies are like merging or something. Or Aquarius is starting to feel more Libra. Or it feels like Aquarius is starting to take on Libran aspects. The one thing to note though is that her feet are blue. I've never noticed that. And her hands are blue too. Like her feet and her hands are blue. And so this isn't an Elsa situation. Right? Because like if Elsa were out, she'd be fine. But this Queen of Swords, she's turning blue, meaning that she's not built for this environment, even though this is where she's put herself. The Queen of Swords yesterday came out between New World Order and the Shining Quarry, Knight of Pentacles. The World and the Knight of Pentacles. And that, like, 3.5 hour long video. So she's needing to warm up. And I think that's why this heart influence is there. But there are some parts of her that are exposed that aren't blue. But that makes sense, right? Because blood travels from the heart outwards. So, kind of sort of the closer to the heart, the warmer it would be. And then as it goes to the extremities, it gets less warm, especially since it's like in the core where all the organs in the body is. But when you go outside, there's like less stuff around it, less insulation. Maybe it's like there are these things, these truths, these ideas, or even ideals that kind of sort of separate us. I don't want to say from reality, but from reality came to mind. And I'm honestly feeling a little perplexed by this energy today. We're coming off of judgment. And that was all about facing the self. Queen of Swords, I'm not great at reading court cards as like, this is an older woman or an older feminine figure, a more mature feminine figure who could be an air sign, but it's more logic than anything. So this is a very head over heart type of energy, but it's cold and it's not built for this because she's turning blue. And I saw the Queen of Swords a while ago. The Queen of Swords, the Eight of Pentacles, the Son of Swords, and something else. And I remember I had 2 cards, or I had 4 cards, 2 sides, so 8 cards total. And the King of Swords was over here doing something new. The Queen of Swords was over here, and she had become a victim to her own way of thinking. And not that she was victimized necessarily, but her pattern of thought had sort of boxed her into a situation that no longer served and benefited her. And that Knight of Swords was the thing within her that sees that, realizes it, and wants to do something new. But at the end of the day, in that particular spread, she wasn't willing to do it. And so she just kind of sort of stayed stuck. So there is an element of stagnancy here. Maybe also this is someone who's like sort of cut out or cut off a lot of people. And now they're starting to feel that isolation. But again, it feels more of like a defensive type of thing. Like a sabotagey type of thing where like maybe in the moment you thought you were making the right choice, but then you find out that you didn't. Because now you're starting to freeze outside. So there is a little bit of a 5 of Pentacles energy here as well. But with the 5 of Pentacles, it's like you can go back inside. I don't know if this queen necessarily feels like she can. This could also, if it's like, because it's minor or a pre-justice energy. And so this could be the space of making head over heart decisions or making decisions that like it's a little more absolute, I guess. Meaning that it doesn't necessarily take the person into account. But not in a bad way. It's like typically you would be more lenient with someone because it's someone that you know or you care about, but now you have to hold them responsible, and there may be something within you that kind of sort of feels bad, but at the end of the day, it's like you have to learn to start setting and establishing healthy boundaries. And whereas maybe there was something that you used to give to freely and constantly, it's like you continuing to do that is depleting you. And it's sort of taking you out of your ability to like find peace in the home that is this comfort zone. And it's not necessarily like a bad one. Like, it's not necessarily a comfort zone that we need to get out of, but like it's affecting your ability to find peace and serenity. Maybe within your own mind. And so there's something that she needs to set right. Either way, there's something that she needs to set right to keep her from freezing over. Because she's turning blue. The heart is also important here. The crown is important here. And what's interesting is typically the green falls within this band. But in some spots, here, and here ish, the white and the blue switch colors. So I'd say it's like root, sacral, root, sacral, solar, maybe. Something in the lower three chakras needs to be balanced somewhere. And then her feet are frozen, so yeah. And that's like, I can't remember what the solar plexus does. I don't know if I threw it away. I might have to find it. I had some pages of information from a meditation class. And I think they were up there with all those papers that I just went through the other day. But no, some of those were folded, and I didn't come across any folded papers. I know the root chakra is responsible, or in our root chakra lives our sense of innocence. And the solar plexus chakra is responsible for sustenance. So how do we sustain that innocence? And then the sacral is probably just like creativity and intimacy. And so that's our ability to get close to people. And one of the things that sustains us as social creatures is a certain element of connection. But not just any kind of connection. It's like authentic connection. It's connection where we feel like we can be ourselves truly, 100% openly and honestly. And with the solar plexus being sustenance, it's like if we're not getting that, it affects our ability to be the better versions of ourselves or be all of who we need to be in whatever situation. But again, that's all based on the foundation that is determined by the root. And then again, it brings in that sense of innocence with that sort of intimacy and connection. It doesn't have to be romantic. And all of that feeds into the heart. So it affects us emotionally, maybe more, excuse me, with this Queen of Swords, it may be more than we think. Like maybe we try to convince ourselves that we're better off with or without whoever. But we're turning blue. And as I'm talking about this, of course, I'm analyzing myself when I'm thinking about myself. And I don't know if it's because I'm stubborn, because I got a lot of fixed energy in my chart. Taurus moon and rising. I'm a first house Taurus moon and rising. So my moon is in my first house, um, which gives me, like, for me, I experience it as a strong emotional sense of self. And it's a sense of self for me that goes a lot deeper than the appearance and what's on the surface and what people can see. It's like, it's not a sun, it's a moon, right? But for me, it's like I'd rather be alone than be with or surrounded by people that I don't really see it for. Because then it's like I'm giving energy to things that it doesn't find a home with. And so it's like it doesn't really build or double or triple or whatever. There's no resonance there. And I know it ain't 1031. Um, and when it is with insert Three of Cups energy, um, excuse me, when it is with a community of people that you find resonance with, then it's like it builds and it amplifies. And resonance isn't necessarily like, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, right? It's like a melody. You can put different notes together that sound nice, right? And it's honestly feeling like us trying to fit into spaces that aren't for us, or trying to carry on things that don't necessarily serve us anymore, especially coming off of the Justice card from yesterday. And that's like, I read the card because I was like, I need somewhere to go with this. And that's what it talked about, the things that may have served us in the past, but that don't serve us where we currently are. And I think this is her. She's not cutting everything off. She is like giving things and people and situations the opportunity to show whether or not they are compatible with her next phase. And if they're not, then her sword is already in hand at the ready. And it almost feels like her heart is in danger. It reminds me of Frozen, when in the beginning they were like, oh, it's a good thing the ice didn't hit her heart, because if it hit her heart, she may be a gone. They was like, it's easier to fix the mind than it is to fix the heart, or something like that. And here's the Queen of the Mind, who's starting to turn blue. Now, luckily, it's like, it's just her like the extreme of her extremity. So I think she's got quite a ways to go before her heart turns blue, but maybe not. It's general, take it as it resonates. But with the crown and the third eye energies coming in here as well, I feel like we're beginning to see how certain things affect us. And with the Queen of Swords, we're being put in the position to make the decision. Because as a pre-justice energy, like major justice energy, like for me, in contexts like these, major energies will play out regardless. So like when it comes to justice, justice will happen regardless. But when it's a pre-energy, it's on us to kind of sort of bring that in and to make it happen. That's why, like, the Queen of Cups being a pre-high priestess, it's like there are some things that she knows, some things that she doesn't know. And there are some things that she knows, but she doesn't know why she knows it. But as that pre-high priestess, it's like she would have doubt. And so sometimes she, even though she knows, she doesn't act in alignment with that knowing. Or there's not enough proof behind it, so she may not do the thing that she feels that she should do. But if it were the high priestess, then the high priestess would just kind of sort of like fall in line without question. And so with this pre-justice energy, I think sometimes we kind of sort of wait for an opportunity to introduce space in a situation. I know for myself personally, I've been there before, where it was like, oh, after a certain amount of time, I'm not going to be like, this proximity that we have to each other is not going to be a thing. And so I'll just wait until then to do what, I know I need to do now. And was there a different way I could have went about it? Yeah. Would I handle it differently now? Yeah. But I guess I say all that to say that the situation may not necessarily just happen. We may have to take some initiative with this Queen of Swords. And when we do this, again, with this heart energy here, it's not necessarily out of. It's like there's a way that we can do it where we honor both ourselves and the other person. It's like there's a compassionate way to do this, but to still establish a firm boundary and a healthy one. Because something in this environment, it's like it's leaching the heat out of her body. And I feel like I want more, but I also feel like that's where I should end it because it's going to be different for everybody. I guess it's time to, speaking of the cleaners, it's time to clean house a little bit. And it may be difficult, but it's not necessarily supposed to be easy. And with her hair being this long, like it feels like something that we've been knowing for a while. And it feels like something that hasn't been addressed. So this is different than like revisiting situations that we've been in before, right? Like let's say um, there's a job or a person or whatever where there's a little bit of disharmony or discordance. And so then there's a conversation and things change, right? But as you're continuously growing and as the other person entity is continuously growing and as life brings new challenges, then like I feel like it's different that if like when a concern arises, it's addressed and then you move forward, because then that's just sort of like kind of sort of like establishing a growth potential and a growth compatibility, especially if you're in a period of like dynamism or dynamic growth. That's different than like something that maybe you've spoken on before, but the person is doing the same thing still, or there's been no sign of progression in that way, and so it's still taking from you in the same ways. Then it may be time to set up a boundary or barrier. If not, like if you've never talked about it, it's the perfect time to talk about it. And the time to talk about it and to have that conversation is before you're at your breaking point, before your heart's already grown cold. If it's something that's worth saving or keeping around, at the very least. And again, that goes back to that authenticity in a way. It's like you should be able to express something that you're genuinely like affected by or concerned with. And if someone or something cares about you, they'll be willing to listen to and address those concerns. And as a human, it's not always easy to not immediately jump on the defensive and try to make someone else out to be as bad as you are, or try to make someone else out to be as bad as they're trying to make you. And then there's this element of maturity that kind of sort of needs to be on both sides, right? Because there's a difference between like, oh, like, remember when you did this and when you did that and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm not the bad one, you're the bad one. There's a difference between that and like, well, since we're having a conversation about things that we like to be addressed, then like there's also something that I would like to bring up. The intentions are different. And in that moment, it's like it's time to be an adult. It's time to be a king or a queen. The pages, the knights, like there's a reason why they're not ruling. And some of those moments may actually be opportunities for you to come into a king or queen. Did I say king or king? A king or queen status, where maybe you are a page or a knight, or you have been typically, but in that moment, the conditions are favorable for you to level up in a sense. And it's something that love and compassion and honor and respect can bring to the table. And going back to that Three of Cups energy, what makes the Three of Cups in a lot of the decks that I see or I've come across so special is that it's people with differences coming together. And so there is going to be a need to sort of be able to interact with and handle that difference in whatever way that looks like. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end this. You'll probably see me again today. Hopefully not for 3.5 hours. But if it happens, it happens, I guess. And today is my father's birthday. So it's interesting because he's the 5th of Feb. My mom is the 23rd of Feb, and then I'm the 28th. And it's like 5 plus 23 equals 28. What a coincidence, right? All right, well, that's what I have. Oh. Why do I? Sometimes I'll just like kind of want to say I love you, and almost like out of like a habit, like, oh, love you, bye, right? But every time I do that when I'm streaming, I like, ugh, like, why was I about to say that? Like, why am I like this? Oh, why am I like that? It may not be immediately apparent, but I do actually care for folks. Like, I'm not cold. But also, it's just a time for us to really begin to do better and to be better. And it happens with practice, I guess. And we should be able to hold each other accountable, again, if we're adults. So, yeah, that's what I got. I hope y'all all have a good whatever, whenever, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make it even better. I hope you're acting in alignment to make that which you wish to experience your reality. I love that. I love that. All right, I'll catch y'all maybe in an hour or 2 hours or like 10 minutes. Who knows? Bye.